everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the Funny Won't Stop podcast. I know it was the Funny Don't Stop podcast, but we found that somebody else actually had that name, so we had to change a letter. So no big deal. So it's the Funny Won't Stop, and I'm here today with Kate Brindle and Sal Demilio. Did I say that right? I felt like I was like, I must really be fucking tired. Because to me in my head, I feel like I said Sal.
No, Sal Demilio.
Kate.
I've been called worse, don't worry about it.
Kate Demilio. Kate Demilio.
Kate Demilio, Sal Brindle.
I've been up for
We're
so
heckled off camera.
2 weeks, a couple weeks ago, we were interviewing
Mary Santora?
Thank you. Mary Santora. And Pete comes walking by, trips over the light, knocks the light over, and he's like, fucking shit. Comes back the other way and starts giving the finger to the camera.
I thought he was trying to pay me. I was going to leave.
We lost that episode, sadly. It was, but we got some really good footage in Michigan of somebody taking a storm on the stage there.
I saw it.
So yeah, you win a little, you lose a little. But okay, like I said, today we're here with Kate Brindle and Sal Demilio. They're both from Michigan comics. I met both Kate and Sal here at the Funny Stop Comedy Club back when I first started doing stand-up. It was 4 years ago. Actually, I met you first. You were working with, I'm trying to remember his name.
Me too.
Sal Demilio?
It wasn't with you.
No, just kidding. I'm joking.
And it's funny because I only could remember him by his picture hanging up in the bar area. He wore one of those one of those hats that you wear backwards, like the Kangol hat with the button. I'm trying to remember his name.
Oh, was he Ohio guy?
Yeah.
Mark Anthony?
Mark Anthony, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, the first time I saw you here, it was you and Mark Anthony.
Okay.
You worked with Jennifer Lopez's ex-husband?
That's right, I know. Who knew he was doing the funny stuff?
And then the next time I saw you, you were with Sal here, and then that's been kind of the duo. Ever since.
I love working with Kate. It's great.
Yeah, me too. Like that.
And then I think you did a solo trip up here the one time.
Yep, Thanksgiving weekend. I was here. Yeah, that was fun.
People were all fat and stuffed with tryptophan.
Yeah.
So, like I said, you guys are both from Michigan. Now, here's the thing. Usually I try to do a little back research. Today I decided just to be lazy. And we're going to get to know... Here's what I know right off the top. First, Kate is you're a lawyer, but you're not. But you're not.
I'm legally allowed to be a lawyer, but I don't practice.
Yeah. She doesn't need any help suing your ass.
Right. So I don't do that. I can't do like DUI defense, nothing like that. But I theoretically could. But
do you ever have people ask you for legal advice?
All the time. But that's the thing. It's like I think when you get a law degree, it's like a general degree. You don't know. People ask me for stock tips. I'm like, I have no idea. Like
I went to school for EMT paramedic and got my license and everything, and I can't tell you how many unqualified questions I got.
Yeah.
Once I had a medical background, it's like, you need to go somebody who's a higher pay grade for a lot of that. But I'll keep you on retainer.
Yeah, no, thank you.
And then we have Sal here, who has a podcast of his own, which I'm not going to say the name of because I can't remember.
Oh, that's okay. The Sal and Bob show.
Sal and Bob. So it's the Sal and Bob podcast, and from what I remember, you go to like steakhouses and stuff like that. And
correct.
Do you review the steakhouses, or do you just go to places with steak and do your podcast there?
Well, long story short, I got the idea. One of my favorite steakhouses is in Vegas called the Golden Steer. And it's in Las Vegas. It's old school, like 1920s it was there. Like Frank Sinatra ate there, Sammy Davis Jr. And I was eating dinner there years ago, and I went, this would be a great idea to just sit in a steakhouse booth, talk about politics and sports and all that kind of stuff and record it for a podcast. So that was my idea, and we do it at a steakhouse, so we promote the steakhouse. Hopefully they give us free steaks, and we promote their steakhouse, and we've got our podcast going. And it's kind of like a little bit of a it's different than just doing a regular podcast with comedians, which is great, but we were just trying to do a little different twist to it. Well, then the pandemic hit, and we couldn't go to steakhouses anymore. So now we've kind of just turned it into a regular podcast. But we've been at it for a couple of years, 250 episodes.
Wow.
It's great. Yeah.
Oh.
It's a lot of fun.
Now, how many
and the other comedians, Bob Phillips, the guy I do it with, he's a comedian.
Now, how many of those 250 episodes involved steakhouses?
We probably had maybe out of those 250 or 230, I think maybe 120 or less steakhouses. Maybe
Wow.
100, yeah.
And are they all different steakhouses, or is there a lot of repeat offenders?
We've gone to the Waffle House and just gotten a steak at the Waffle House. Like we have a Waffle House
Really?
episode.
That's funny.
You know what I mean? So we just go everywhere. We'll go.
You ever had a Denny's steak?
We haven't done Denny's yet, but I haven't. I've had a Denny's steak.
Yeah.
Before. I've had steak everywhere, bro.
Some of them have to be rough. I mean, yeah, because they like. I won't put A1 on a steak. I like A1,
me too.
but I won't put it on a steak unless and then that's the steaks I call like the Denny's steak.
Yeah.
It comes out with your eggs and your hash browns, and no matter how rare you ask for it, it still somehow is going to be well done.
Correct, and I love what you said, because a cheap steak, I'll put A1 on a cheap steak. But if I'm going to like the Cut or Ruth Chris or something like that, and I'm buying a $50 steak, I use an A1 for that.
Actually, you know what I like to put on a steak? When I go to a steakhouse, I'll usually find out what seasoning they put on their steak, and I have them give me an extra side of that seasoning.
That's a great idea.
And then I will dip a little of the steak, and when I cut it into that seasoning, and then kind of run it around the juice.
Nice.
And that's what I do.
I'm going to steal that.
It's good. It really, because there's some places out there that have killer seasoning, and the natural juice, compiled with that, makes like the perfect accent to me for a steak. But then sometimes it's just S&P, and that's it.
Yeah, no, good call. Like buffalo wings, when I have buffalo wings, sometimes I like that dry rub, you know what I mean, and not any sauces. So I don't know if that's how you get buffalo. I'm getting hungry now. Can we get some food over here?
I've had a burger for the entire day. That's pretty much it. I'm waiting to get some. Tony here at the Funny Stop Comedy Club. If you have never been here, oh my gosh, Tony cooked the hell out of anything, but he has an amazing Cajun chicken and green beans that I get every time I'm here. It's the only time I enjoy eating healthy. It really is.
Yeah, I saw that. You got it last night.
There's nothing bad about it, as far as it's not.
Is it on the menu?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely on the menu.
Okay.
But yeah, if you get it for the dinner, you get the chicken, the green beans, and you get like a side salad and stuff like that. This is now a food review show. It's no longer a comedy podcast. So Sal, how long have you been doing stand-up, and how did you get into stand-up comedy?
I started about 24 years ago, and I took a comedy class at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle with a couple other comics that are still in the game, Bill Bushard, Rob Little, and just started from there, and then started doing open mics around town. Back then, there was a lot more comedy clubs in Michigan, and in Ohio for that matter, and you could work a lot, so that's how I got started.
It just doesn't feel like there's a lot in Michigan right now.
It's kind of had a little bit of a downturn, as far as comedy clubs, but I think they're starting now. There's a new one now in Detroit, and there's just one-nighters that pop up and people doing stuff. So there's a lot of gigs, but you're right, there's not a lot of full-time clubs like the Funny Stop,
Yeah, the one that I'm trying to remember the name of the one that just popped up because I had a friend who just performed there. It's the Detroit Comedy.
Yeah, that's the new one. Detroit House of Comedy.
Detroit House of Comedy. Yeah, John.
I haven't checked it out yet.
Who has performed here? Just worked there as a feature, and is going to be back there headlining. And it looks like a really nice club. And of course, I was just at One Night Stands. One Night Stands is, to me, one of the best clubs I've been out that way to, and I'm not just saying that because Mike Green put me on the stage. I love the setup there.
It's a great club.
That stage is gorgeous. I love how you come through the door onto the stage. It has
what Mike did. That club is consistent of like 4 or 5 of his favorite clubs. So he took little things from all the clubs he's liked and made it his own. So it's a great club.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. A club built, and designed by a comic. It's definitely going to have those aspects. And my favorite thing is the clock on the stage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people, it's so helpful to have that clock because sometimes you don't know how much time you're doing. When they say, okay, do this amount of time, it's so nice to see right
that
there.
thing's huge. That clock is monstrous.
Oh yeah. And because I'll be honest, I hate the light. Every time I go to a club, because it's always someplace different, it's a different color, or it's not that bright,
or you don't know where it is. Is it a person with their cell phone, or is it in the middle?
How many times does that happen in the UK where somebody takes a flash in the back? You're like, was that my light?
Was that the light, or someone
out?
just looking at Google? Yeah.
Ah, it sucks.
Yeah, when I was down at the Comedy Cabana, where you just were, they have that red light bulb.
Yes.
And I totally missed it by
I did too.
Yeah,
I missed it. I missed it. I had no idea it was there.
He told me, they pointed at it, like, there's the light.
Well, I was looking at the DJ booth because he goes, I'll give you the light. So I kept looking at the DJ booth for the light. You know what I mean? I didn't know it was over by the kitchen.
He told me where it was, and I kept looking for it, and I never saw it until finally I seen him back there with a cell phone going like this, and I'm like, oh, there's a light.
Yeah. So that's what like you said, the clock is so helpful.
Good call, man. Good call.
Yeah. But yeah, any club I think should kind of try to incorporate that, because that, and I always find it funny whenever I see a comic acknowledge the light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if it's a reflex some people get. Like, I feel like some people need to show the person giving the light that, oh, I see it, you don't have to give it to me anymore. But
just do a nod.
Yeah, just like a quick little.
Sometimes it's so animated, like, I
see it. Turn on.
Yeah. I see the light.
Right.
I got you.
And if it's not enough, if you would give, like, sometimes I'll give the light to people, right, just for myself. And if they don't give me enough of a look, I'm like, oh no, did they see? And then I'm doing the airport flash.
Well, or you always get that person who, like, I pace the stage from time to time, and as soon as you get the light out, they'll hook and turn the other way. And it's like, shit.
Yeah.
It's like, I know you turned your head. Damn it. And then you have to wait for them to come back around and look at, it's been another minute now. You spent the last minute facing that corner.
It's probably their plan.
Yeah, like, I'm going to look away right now. Yeah. That's why at the end of my set, I do a bit where I turn completely around and face the back of the stage. So you said, 24 years?
Yep.
And how long have you been headlining?
I've been headlining probably for the last, I headlined a little bit, like maybe 15 years ago, like a little bit of rooms, but probably, like consistently, probably the last 5 years.
And how long did it take you to get from that open mic, emceeing, maybe some feature work, to the finally, headlining?
It takes a while. Like for me, and I don't know how Kate is, but like I emceed for a really, really long time. Like I MC because of all those clubs I was telling you about, and I worked for Funny Business a lot, and they had a bunch of clubs, and I would just MC, and I would never really care about moving up because I was working so much, and I was hosting and telling jokes, so I was getting good at working the crowd and everything. I probably did that a little bit too long, but then I finally moved up to feature, and I featured not really that long before I headlined. So my career was a lot of MC and then very little feature before I started headlining.
And there's nothing wrong with because I MC a lot, and this
I still do.
Yeah, it's fun.
I love it.
It is.
I love starting out shows.
Especially when you get to work with people you enjoy working with, because a lot of times people will bring in to shows their own features or stuff like that.
Yep.
So if I can find a way to work with the people I enjoy working with, and still be a part of it, I'll MC all the time.
Yeah, and I feel like when you MC, at least like if I MC now at the level I'm at now, like there's no pressure on you. You can try new stuff, and you can just see if things are popping. There's no pressure on you. You're not the main act. You're not, you don't have to carry the show, so you can just screw around. I just feel like it helps. It helps. I think every comedian should have to MC for a long time.
Well, because I feel like there's kind of an art to it too, like welcoming the crowd, getting them engaged, but also like kind of in a way setting the tone, like, well, we want you engaged, but don't talk back too much,
Correct. So it's a really integral part of the show.
Yeah.
Which you did great last night here. You started it out, you killed it, you got it going, and it makes our job easier.
Yeah.
It really does.
And one of the things I always loved when I started emceeing is I found that it was good to be as accommodating as possible for the headliner or the person you're working with, making sure you know their credits, making sure you know the names. Try try to get down the patterns and stuff like that because I never liked taking paper up on the stage. I didn't want to sit there and read something off a piece of paper.
Yeah.
You know, and plus, you know, just, you know, and I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but almost kind of like waiting on the headliner in a way like, you know, hey, do you need anything? You want me to grab your water? Do you want me to help you do this? Because a lot of times, I know a lot of headliners when they come into clubs, they want to talk and they want to socialize, you know, with the comics who come in with other people, but they also want their headspace before they perform, and the less time around people they can get right before they go on the stage, you know, that benefits them. And then afterwards, they're all hyped up to actually hang out and talk. But then there's a lot of comics just come right in and like, fuck it, let's actually pour the drinks that's gonna go on.
Yeah, that's probably me.
So 24 for you. And now, how long have you been doing stand-up?
I've been probably almost 20 years. Yeah.
And you're younger than I am. And here's the,
not by much. Not by much.
She doesn't age.
Well, you know what the hilarious thing is last night I felt like a shithead because we're talking about Cedar Point, and she goes, and I said, do you remember a ride called Disastrous Transport there? It was basically a roller coaster that was indoors. And she goes, do you remember it before it was indoors? And I didn't remember that. And then, of course, my brain automatically goes, how old are you? And she's like, I'm this old. And I'm like, oh, shit. She's younger than I am. Now I feel like a real ass.
But not about maybe a year. That's it, right?
No, it's only, but here's the funny thing is I was thinking about this today. In comedy, I started to view a lot of people who have more time than me as seniors compared to, it's weird because I know people who are almost 15 years my junior that have been doing stand-up for double the amount of time I have. Okay, like you guys know Chris Harvey by any chance?
I've heard of him, but I don't know him.
He works here at the Funny Stop. He's in his 20s.
Okay.
He's headlining now. He's all over, and he's doing amazing work. But the funny thing is when I talk to him, it's almost like that. I definitely have that. Like I feel younger. I feel like a kid compared to an adult. Like he's almost like an authority figure. And I felt that way for a long time, meeting comics that have been in it way longer than I have. So for me, to you, it's like I feel like literally, even though we're like a year apart in age, you know, you're like this, you know, master.
I don't know about that.
Young Padawan here, you know. No, but it's a weird mentality.
But I know what you're saying because I remember when I first started, because I emceed for a long time too, you know, because you could work a lot, which I love. And I remember the people who were featuring, I remember thinking they must be way older than I was, and I was in my 20s. And then it's only been recently on Facebook when you could see people's ages, and you're like, what? They're only 5 years older than me? I thought, same thing. I had them on this pedestal. I thought, they had to be much older, and they weren't.
Yeah, it's just so it's that mentality where you put them into a spot, you know, and it's got a little, now that I've been doing stand-up longer, because in the very beginning, like I was very intimidated by a lot of people. You know, even both of you when I first met both of you, because because I saw you as people who had reached the status that, you know, you eventually want to reach yourself. So you take every opportunity to learn what you did to get there, or how you're handling it, or how you do on stage, and you kind of take that all in and all, you know. And then you get to know the people, and you're like, what the fuck was I thinking?
No, I get it, but it's that's one thing I see. Like I go to a lot of comedy clubs now. Here I don't see that here. I see a lot of the guys that stop by. Not open micers, but the younger comics. I don't like to call them open micers because some of the guys I met, even last night, they're good comics. They're up all the time. But they stay. They watch all the comics. I go to some clubs where they'll do a guest set and then they leave.
Yeah.
Like, why would you leave? You've got a headliner that's going to be, you'll learn something from this guy.
And a lot of that I see is, you know, comics who are trying to grind. They're like, okay, I know that I can hit these 3 mics in one night. If I get into this place early, get a guest spot, bounce, get to the next place.
I totally get that. But if they're just going off to the bar, you know, they can stay and learn something, you know, not just leave. So absolutely, if they're doing another gig, that's
because I always feel shitty when I end up leaving, but like,
no, but sometimes you gotta leave. I get it. But if it's consistently doing that, always leaving a club, I guess that's not good. you're not going to learn.
Yeah, I at least try, like, especially if I'm not working like a double show, if I'm going to be around, I always like to watch, the headliner set and the feature set. I may not do it in one whole sitting.
Yep.
Like, I'll break it apart.
Yeah,
like, last night, I actually watched your set first and then watched your set second.
Oh, okay.
And so I caught because I also caught two different crowds by doing that, too.
Yeah.
And, which, obviously, you guys both, had killer
Fun
nights
crowds.
last night. Yeah, yeah.
Thanks, they were.
But I thought it was so weird that last night, that first crowd, that nobody was sitting in the front row.
Oh, I know.
It's like it was like COVID Island. Up
Yeah,
there.
it really
so
was.
weird.
And that made it kind of a little bit tough to get going. I think.
I've gone to venues where they have no tables. Now, these aren't clubs. I was at one venue where I was featuring, and they literally had the distance of probably 15 yards between the stage and the first table.
Yeah, that's a killer.
And I got lucky because the mic was cordless, so I hopped off the stage and literally walked up to the edge of the tables. And I'm like,
Yeah.
we're gonna do it right here.
That's what you gotta do because I think you have to have that
That
connection
space
with
is
stand-up,
horrible.
and it kills
It does.
it. Yeah.
I feel that you actually will lose crowd members because I was watching the people up before me and people were talking, while the comic was up there or they were doing other shit, and it's like there was one guy sitting in the back with his laptop open, and I believe
With his laptop?
yes, I believe he was Skyping with his buddy, and he was watching the show from afar. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
What's up?
Oh, it's good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Nice to see you. Might as well be in the show here.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is,
Good to
this
see
is
you.
our podcast.
No,
No, you're good. You're good.
Great to see you.
This is why we do it live at the club. And
Awesome
it's
to see
always
you.
awesome to see
Been a
people
long
when they come
time.
back and see a show.
Yeah. You want to pull up a chair? Sorry, I don't mean to make it weird.
I feel bad I was interrupted.
No, you're awesome.
I think it's awesome. It's hilarious.
Like I said, that is the entire reason that we shoot live at the club for this podcast, is because it's a whole way to get the viewers, when they see it, to meet the people who are coming into the club and also kind of see the club environment.
Yeah.
Because anybody's welcome to walk up, talk, do anything. I don't mind it in one
I
bit.
love it. It's awesome.
Especially when the
Great
owner
to
trips
see
over the lights and yells at us.
Yeah, that was 2 weeks ago. Right? Or no, last week.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
So, like I said, anything happens at the Funny Won't Stop podcast.
That's right.
So now, how long have you been working? Now, do you do more feature work or more headliner work?
A little more feature. Yeah. So, but I'm just happy to be on the stage. So I'll do whatever.
But okay, now, so I'm not going to reveal your age, but you've been doing comedy for close to 20 years.
Yeah.
And you are.
I was 8 when I started.
No, like you were in your late teens. I'm taking.
No, I was early 20s.
Early 20s. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking late teens, early 20s. But so what made you decide to do this?
Kind of like Sal, I took a class. So to me, I like to do things that challenge myself, that I'm afraid of, and getting on stage telling jokes to strangers seemed like the most terrifying thing I could do. So I was like, all right, let's do it. So I took a class thinking, okay, our final exam was like a 5-minute open mic. I thought, I do this 5-minute open mic, that'll be that. I got one laugh, probably literally one laugh, the whole 5 minutes, but it was enough to get hooked. And I just kept coming back, and then, started emceeing, and then started kind of, making friends with the people you do open mic with, and
What is there a specific club that you started working out of, or?
I started working at the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase. Was the time I started started open micing, and then started working. But my first gig was actually in Ohio. My first ever paid gig. I got $25 to MC. Turns out it was Steve Sabo, another comic from
Steve.
Turns out there wasn't even an MC gig. He just felt bad for me. It was like, okay, you've been fucking me so much. Here's $25. Just come MC, whatever. He told me this years later, But I just thought I had won the lottery. I'm like, oh my god, I'm getting paid to do
Yes.
That's amazing.
It is great the first time you actually get money to tell jokes.
Oh, it's incredible, isn't it? If it's only $25,
Yeah,
you're getting paid to
it's
do
like
what you love.
they're handing you the money. You're like, I would have done this for free.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
You know,
And a lot of times we still
Yeah,
Do.
still say it.
Well, that's the funny thing too is about going to shows, not even open mics, but like dropping in on shows and stuff, and just getting guest spots and time in, because it's like. I think it's the only line of work that I can think of where you could at one moment be making a few $100 and you could spend the same amount of time and make absolutely nothing and still enjoy the hell out of actually doing it. You know?
That's exactly right.
Because for me, it's definitely always been just the exhilaration of getting the crowd to laugh.
Oh, sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, the money, don't get me wrong, money's awesome. But it's just so much fun just trying to get those laughs out of people. And I always, and I do find it funny from time to time, I'll hear other comics, younger comics, when they critique and talk about other people's material. You know, whether, oh, that was very well thought, or that's clever, or, you know, or his work is, or this person's work is hacky, or the way I always look at it is, if I'm up there and the crowd's laughing, hands down, I've done my job.
That's correct.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what the material is. You know, as long as it's your material, I will say that.
Right, that's a good point.
Yeah,
good
as long as you're
caveat.
not, you know, because, and that's another thing too. I find it, you know, funny every now and then where I will hear something, somebody do something that somebody else has said, but I genuinely don't look at that person and be like, he's stealing that.
It's a parallel development.
It is, very much so, and I'm so surprised how much it happens.
Well, yeah. I mean, well, if you're gonna do marriage jokes, those have been done, right? But if it's your marriage you're talking about,
Yeah.
you know, then that's.
I do a lot of fat humor, and there's so much fat.
So do I. You know? But if you make it your own, you know.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it. If it's your story, your life, who cares if that subject has been done a million times? It's your life.
Yeah.
Right? It's your story about it. So that's how I look at it. You know?
Now, for you, what would you say when you first started out doing stand-up? What was your favorite topic to like talk about, or to like?
Mine was all Italian. My first probably 15 minutes of material was all about my Italian family, which I still do a little bit of that on stage, but now I've grown to other subjects. But my first year was just talking about my family.
And now, what would you say your style of comedy would be?
Probably like more topical humor now. I like talking about what's happening in the world, or a little bit of my self-deprecating humor about my life. That's kind of where I'm at. Still a little bit about my family, but I've grown other subjects. But my first couple of years was just everything was Italian. Probably too much, you know, to be honest.
You work with what you know, and then you build and you go out. Like I do a lot of self-deprecating and weight stuff because that's, you know, what I deal with. But
John Panette made a career of it.
God, yes,
right? So,
such a great career too. It's so sad that he's not around.
exactly, but one of the funniest ever. Well, what did he talk about? He talked about being a big guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did anybody ever go up to that guy and go, well, that material's been done before, that subject's been done? No. He was
His
just,
Chinese buffet
it's
joke.
probably one of the best ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know if you could do that joke though these days.
yeah, probably not. You're right.
Still, brilliant. Now, what would you say was your, like, when you first started, what kind of humor did you focus on?
Well, I think I was like Sal, my family. I talked about my family a lot because, I mean, I was around them a lot. So, I was talking about my parents and my brother. And, yeah, I don't know if, like, my style has changed that much. Like, I don't know about you both. Like, if you think your style has changed that much. I don't think
Mine's
has
pretty
too
much the same right
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Because I'm way too much of a toddler to have said my style has changed. But it's growing. It's growing because I'm trying to get into more of that storytelling, you know, realm. But right now it's just a lot of self-deprecation and self-realization, and I like the storytelling, and I like to do topical from time to time too.
Yep.
And I also sprinkle on some dead dad humor because I always find it best to deal with pain with humor.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, crowd's getting big. Noise is going up. It was amazing having both of you on the
it's great to
podcast
be on.
today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sal.
Thank you so much, Bill.
Thank you so much. Guys, thanks everybody for sitting and watching the Funny Won't Stop podcast. One more time, give it up for my man behind the camera, Levester Johnson Jr. He is amazing. If you watched the podcast before, his editing and video and filmography and photography is bar none. And if you want him to do some work for you, get a hold of him. So, everybody, have a wonderful day.
Good night, everybody.